Hello, everyone. You are watching Managing Day to Day with me, Christina and National Parents Union. I hope you're all well. As always, I hope that you all are thriving. Hello to America's beautiful children. We love you. And so today I have my brothers on, Jason and Nehemiah. I will let them introduce themselves for you guys that are watching and don't know them. But these are my brothers, not by the same mother, but they my brothers. And so we're definitely going to have an exciting show coming up. Just having, that real heartfelt conversation, that authenticity that we so value here at National Parents Union. But before I even have them introduce themselves, I want to remind you that we have an upcoming town hall. Information is streaming at the bottom of this whole, show. And so you can locate us, and our Twitter handles are coming across, and you need to make sure that you register for that upcoming town hall meeting. So my brothers, hello. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Go ahead and tell all the national viewers who you are, what you do, and what's going on with you right now.
Jason, I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, brother. So I'm Jason Allen. I'm from Atlanta. I run EDLANTA, which is part of the Bright Beam Network, and Citizen Ed, as well as the Education Post. Longtime educator, 16 years, and activist. And I'm just excited to be a part of the conversation today.
Thank you. We're excited too.
And so my name is Nehemiah Frank. Hello, everyone out there. I am originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I pop back and forth between Atlanta and Tulsa a lot. I was in Tulsa just last week, and I'm getting ready to go back next week to do some things in my hometown. But I'm also the founder and editor-in-chief for the Black Wall Street Times, which is a media publication that focuses on education, civil rights, social justice initiatives in Oklahoma and in Atlanta, and I guess across the country as well. And I'm so happy to be here. And I'm also happy to be one of the founding delegates for the National Parents Union.
Woo! And so what's going on in your neighborhood? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, as of right now, we have a lot of parents and students and even teachers that are a little upset. They're concerned about returning to in-person learning in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The school board just earlier this week voted to return to in-person learning. Yes, I know we're just now getting good into the fall season, but a lot of parents have been voicing their opinions on social media, which of course that's one of the spaces that we are allowed to do, that we have to do that. The Tulsa Public School Boards put out a Facebook post, and it looked like it garnered hundreds of comments, and a lot of them were not great comments.
And so we was talking about this even before the show started, really, yes, schools, people want school to be reopened, but they can't do it safely, right?
Oh, yeah.
And bring what needs to be done, change what needs to take place in order for it to be done in a realistic way, right? We're talking about clean schools. We're talking about even people that before COVID was complaining that there was not clean, hot running water, right? There were facilities and maintenance issues, all kinds of challenges that existed that are continuing to exist today.
Right.
And so I think that the parents are very clear about the level of cleanliness,
right,
which should be a basic kind of concept, right? Basic.
The building, I mean, before COVID, Black and brown school majority attended schools had issues, right? We have issues of equality, books not being updated, the tiles in the building having mold in them. I spoke to one of my sisters from another mother, right? Vivette Dukes, who is in New York. And she had shared with me that some of the
shout out to Vivette.
She had shared with me that, there were students in the classrooms that were cold. And, if you're cold, you can't learn. New York decided to go back to in-person learning because their cases were steady, and they had dropped significantly compared to when the outbreak first took place back in March. But I mean, we still have a lot of inequality issues that are still present, whether the virus is here or not, that need to be addressed. Right. And so I'm just happy to be here to be a part of that.
Yeah, Neil, I wanted to your point about the reopening of schools. And, here I'm all about dropping knowledge, because reading is, knowledge, right? It's powerful. It's our gateway to freedom. And one of the things that I tweeted about earlier today is that I just am exhausted with the online social media debates between liberals and conservatives and the Black elite and the Black activists and, the Black progressives. All of this loose wrap, and we don't have a plan. And so I did want to share this in regards to something that Nehemiah said regarding reopening schools and why we're still demanding equality. And it's for this reason. Blacks, we know the history of Black Americans. We know we have been the most oppressed, the most suppressed, the most disenfranchised. And our allies have not stood up and said, okay, we want to make systemic change in regards to the economic progress of Blacks in this country. Now, the Jews, white liberals, even Hispanic and others in this country have said this is definitely a moral issue. And it's almost as if I'm going to go to the devil and say, hey, you are torturing me and tormenting me, but he was designed to do that. So why would I keep trying to appease to his moral conscience when he doesn't have one? And so this is what I'm saying to Black Americans, is that we have to make this an economic issue, because that's what it is. And why is it an economic issue? Well, when I pay my taxes and it's going to my public school, and then the school board is saying that, oh, we want to reopen, we're going to reopen public schools we know, A, are overcrowded. Which public schools are overcrowded? B, they're Black and brown schools. We already know this. C, we know the schools are not well kept. How are these funds, the splash funds, the additional 1% taxes that we're paying to go through all of these initiatives? Why is there still lead water in the public school districts in Atlanta and in Flint and throughout the nation in Black and brown schools? So where we are getting parents and teachers and students and even people in America waking up and saying, hey, this is a moral issue, we need to reopen schools safely and do something better, we're still missing the mark, because we're not making it an economic issue to say, hey, we want to hit you guys in the pocketbook, because a long time saying is follow the trail of the money and then hold the powers that be accountable that control that money source. And I know that was a lot, but again, I want to wrap it up and say it needs to be an economic push as well as just a moral issue.
No, I think that the economic piece is the foundational piece, right? So decoupling oppression from its economic benefit is the only way that you're really going to have some lasting changes. You cannot ask for justice and mercy from the same people that are condoning and perpetuating discrimination and oppression against you. Justice doesn't work like that, right? And you find that it doesn't have any lasting, meaningful impact that's felt in our communities when you're begging for anything, right? Really, the heart of the matter is that there is some economic benefit to oppression. There is some economic benefit to structural harmful exploitation, which I'll break that definition down for you. And until you decouple the two, you really don't have any power and authority over what is taking place. We're just asking for favors. And so here it is, even in the education system, if we look at structural harmful exploitation, basically that says a person enters one way and exits a way that they were never created or intended to be, in a harmful way. Okay. And you look at that and you think about, we're asking our children to be educated. That should be a benefit. That should be a positive. That should be a plus. Acquiring knowledge, a mode to freedom from oppression. They're entering one way and exiting harmed in a way that they should never or were created to be. All because of economic exploitation.
That's good. So I want to bring up another point about what's going on in Tulsa, and I'm pretty sure it's happening across the country. The politics are falling out into the classrooms without a doubt. And so the parents in Tulsa Public Schools, they have the option to be able to continue virtual learning at home. But here's the issue that I see with that. We're going to have a number of students of one particular color, and because of their parents, parents' political beliefs, they're going to go ahead and partake in that in-person learning. But then you're going to have a substantial amount of people of color, Black and brown, indigenous. These are people that have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19 who are going to opt out of the in-person learning. And so those students who are actually going in person, right, they're going to get better education, probably even better than what they were getting before, because they're going to have a substantial amount of their peers missing, right? They're going to be at home partaking in the virtual learning. And so our kids are already behind. Our kids are further behind if they're not actually in the classrooms. So are we in the same boat, or are we not? Are we one nation, right? Or are we not? I think it should probably be, one uniform decision. Really, I think it should be a one uniform decision until we beat this virus as a nation. But, as you had mentioned earlier, there is no plan. And because we're just a whole bunch of states with various political ideas, we can't quite get our act together. And I think we're seeing that all the way from the White House, all the way to the classrooms.
Yes, I also think that it's historical, though, and it goes beyond just Trump. Trump is a result of the death of the civil rights movement, and where we have seen the celebrations of civil rights, over the last couple of years, what we have not talked about as Black Americans is the actual death of the civil rights movement. And the reality is, after a couple of things happened, integration, and this is my philosophy of integration as I've been researching and studying this. Integration was a phase, right? And now that phase has changed into gentrification. It's the same thing, to where now Black people don't have the buy-in in their communities. We do not control our community schools, which is why we continue to see the same problems. We are not in control of our communities. So home ownership,
that's very good.
Entrepreneurship, making sure that we're safe, we're well. Right. Those things aren't happening. That's a result of integration, which was something used by white conservatives to hold us back. So we have to start with the historical facts too, to get people aware.
Right. So you said something that was very, very important. You said that we don't manage our own schools, or the faith of our own students, if you think about it. And so interestingly enough, the two people of color, one Latinx, Latina, and one African American woman, they both voted against in-person learning. And of course they would. They know that their communities have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And so I just put out an op-ed in the Black Wall Street Times today talking about, and it included the NPU poll that said that 53% of parents actually want to, they want a consistent plan for their children's learning. Not, Wednesday we're going to decide to do virtual learning, and this next day you're going to do in-person learning, or perhaps 3rd through 5th grade they're going to go to school and these kids are going to stay home. No, they want consistency.
That's good.
Can you share that in the chat too, Nehemiah? And so I have to just touch on a couple points here that you guys brought up. One, we have to realize, and parents, I want you to understand, K to 12, you don't get an education redo, okay? That time frame in a child's life, from even nursery age, from cradle to career, is going to impact the outcomes of their life for the rest of their life, okay? It's steering them in a direction. You need to make very sure that you do whatever you can, giving them the best opportunity, education available. Okay, I know it's not feasible for everybody to homeschool. I do, but that's because I don't trust nobody to educate my children the way that I want them educated, right? And that's just the fact. Like, do I have a cohort of people that offer supplements to that? Yes, Saturday Math Academy, whatever it may be. I understand that that's not, really something that everyone can do, but start to look within your cohort, right? I know these two wonderful brothers right here. And if I have a question that I have about my children or what, you know what I'm saying? I could ask my brother Jason, right? Hey, Jason, what do you think that would be beneficial to my 14-year-old, who's struggling to find some historical context, right? Hey,
Right.
Nehemiah, what do you think may help my 9-year-old son who may be like trying to identify with some of the things that he's reading, right? That's what the power of having collectivity looks like, right?
Yeah.
We all share our gifts, talents, and abilities to benefit the next generation, the children. There are people that are sitting in positions of power that will not disperse their power, that will not teach the next upcoming generation what it looks like to be in a role of leadership and allow them to model after them. So they will die in that power that they haven't dispersed.
That's good. And Christina, you touched on a good point in regards to dismantling the Black civil rights movement that was systematically done, in America. And one of the things that happened that our leaders unfortunately did not do, and that was to create a long-term national plan for Black Americans. And so now it's pivotal and critical that we do this because we don't want 2 or 3 more generations of Black children in this country to have to go through the struggles that not just our ancestors have gone through, but also ourselves. There's a lot happening in this country, and it is all strategic because overworking Blacks in America is also systemic. It's also something that is used to keep us basically in our place because that is the conservative ideal. That's their mythology that if we keep them in place, we could continue to get our wealth and also capitalize off of their labor.
Right, right. And so people say, oh, well, you're talking in a Marxist way. No, I'm not. But I am bringing up a very ideological thing that he looked at, which was what's happening with class labor,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so Marx wasn't even a Marxist. For all you smart folks out there, just wanted to say that because if you look at what he was even dissecting, he was looking at things from a realistic perspective, right? There is a cause and effect. Basically, he took that from Hegel. I just had to drop this real quick. Hegel's dialect said there's a thesis and an antithesis. And so Marx brought the synthesis to fruition. There is a cause and effect. He was studying what was happening with the working class, the labor, the exploited. And out of that said, there is going to naturally arise a contradiction to exploitative capitalism. This is what we're talking about, really at the heart of what we're talking about, civil rights. And I have to say it like this. Malcolm X said, if you could tell me how civil rights on the books have impacted us economically, have shifted us economically, have been viable to us, then that would be real. Civil rights would be real. But if you want me to believe that civil rights have produced anything fruitful, then either you've been duped or you're trying to dupe me.
Oh yeah.
And so that's how you say that, right? Because if we don't have that economic felt benefit and we still feel exploited through integration or whatever people call integration, because I will tell you that de jure segregation exists in zoning and red zoning and covenant leases, covenant mortgages, things like that, gentrification. That is de jure segregation on the books. Look it up. De
Yes.
facto segregation exists in our school systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
And communities. Yeah.
In our communities, right? And so people think that segregation is no longer a reality and that, when we say, let's pull back and collectively come up with our own plan, we're segregationists. But de jure and de facto segregation exists today and is live in America.
Oh yeah. Well,
that's
this is what I would tell those who are watching.
I popped in really fast. I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just want to, I want to push your point a little bit further. So if you think about it, right, you have specific school districts where there's a majority white student population, and it is illegal for any kid outside of that district to want to go to that school. And that is what she's speaking about when she's talking about de jure segregation. So you can't just, go to this school because, it's a high quality school. You can be arrested. We actually have a member on our delegate group here at NPU that was arrested for trying to send her child to a good school.
So I want to add to the point that Christina and both Neo just made. Who are the majority of people that are having to go through these situations and these circumstances? And it's Black Americans. This is our reality. When we talk about segregation and, they want to be separate and they want to have their own thing. Well, don't privileged white communities have their own schools? Do the Asians go to predominantly Black schools? The Hispanic community that identifies with the white culture, do they go to Black and brown schools? No. Do the Jewish send their kids to Black schools or schools in Black communities? No, they do not. So this is the reverse psychology that goes into place, whereas every time we try to take a step forward, it's, we need to do for all. This is what attributed to the death of the civil rights movement. It went from the Black civil rights movement to civil rights movement for everyone. Women have advanced off of the Black civil rights movement. The LGBTQ community has advanced. The Hispanic community has advanced. The Asian community has advanced. The Jewish community has advanced. So why are Black Americans in 2020 still having to beg school board members to clean up these goddamn schools? Why are we still having to beg city council? I'm about to start preaching. That is our reality. We are still begging and pleading in this country, and we don't have a plan. So here's how we can alleviate that. We have to start connecting with people that are doing the work. So if you're watching this right now and you are a parent, you are a teacher, you are an activist, right now you have a phone, you have a device, contact 3 people and say, hey, you having problems in the public school system? Join the National Parent Union right now. Contact the National Parent Union right now. That information is somewhere floating around because we all can change this. I want to even go a step further and say I don't even care about the Black elite, because we'll have a conversation in a little bit about the Black elite and Black conservatives because they attribute to the problem as well. So I would be foolish to keep going up to white people that want to see Black people enslaved. I would be foolish to keep going up to Black people with money and privilege that they believe that they have and say, woe is me, help us. I don't have time for that. I need to reach the people who actually need to be helped and get them on board. We are at war.
Thank you.
Right? So if I'm fighting a war, why am I going to the people that I'm fighting against and say, can you please help me? Pretty please. No, fuck that. I need to go and get the people that need help. That is the problem. We need help. We got to start having these real conversations about, we know what the issues are, but we need to build. We got to build. So National Parents Union, if you're an activist, text 2 people right now and say, hey, those parents that you were telling me about, I'm tired of hearing teachers complain. Stop complaining. Connect with the National Parents Union. Parents, stop complaining. Connect. Teachers, stop complaining. Connect. Residents and communities, stop complaining. Connect.
That, and I got to say that's what I talk about. Like, look to your left and your right, okay? And who is your neighbor, okay? Then you tell them to go get some more people, and that's how we do stuff. Right. So I don't want to hear people talking about, we got the grassroots movement going. Well, when's the last time you reached out to the people on your left and your right? Because that sounds good on paper that you a grassroots organizer, but how much are you really organizing if your neighbor still can't read and write? Right.
Yep,
so I want to know, because I will tell you, if you come up over to where I'm at, my neighbors know I'm on it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They be like, and so every time they see me, they telling me what's happening with the children, because they already know, they have the expectation that I'm going to ask, did the kids do their work? Do you need any help? Here's something I'm going to offer you as a resource, right? And I need that mentality to be collectively shared. Now, when you're talking about the Black elite, they benefit off our suffering.
Oh, yeah, most def.
And they come and look for us when they're, okay, I'm about to go here. I can't, maybe, okay, so they come and look for us as the poster children to their suffering when they have a project that benefits them. Let's go find somebody You know, people call it poverty pimping, whatever you want to
Oh
call it,
yeah, it
right?
is.
And we're going to go ahead and share their stories so that we can stay in our positions with our economic benefit, but they never come back or look back to fight for us.
Right.
Knock
Oh
that
yeah.
off. Okay. As a matter of fact, that ruthless ambition keeps them from standing up straight and coming back to fight for us. If you are a fence sitter, I got a message. If you are a fence sitter in the middle of a battlefield, you become collateral damage. You cannot sit on the fence. We're in a battle.
We
You
are.
cannot be retired in a battle. Come out of retirement.
Now,
Okay.
Christina, I wanna add something right quick because I
Mm-hmm.
know that those who are watching, they're probably like, now they going off, but I also
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're giving you guys some tools to
Yes.
connect. So again, if you haven't messaged someone about the National Parent Union, please do so because it's a grassroots movement. But here's why this is important, and I want to read something actually. It'll be less than a minute, but here we go. This is from Black Labor, White Wealth. It's by Dr. Claude Anderson. I had previously
Oh,
read
yeah.
Powernomics, which is a national economic plan for Blacks. But here's what it says. The National Urban League and the NAACP are still active, but they have lost much of their influence and their membership. X them off. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, and the Black Panther Party are defunct. The Congress of Racial Equity, they join forces with the conservative ranks. And that's where those black elite, black conservatives who are trying to protect their interests come into play. Because again, they took the Congress of Racial Equality and moved to the other side. So now they have joined forces with the people working against us. Then the system, they discredited black leaders, Stokely Carmichael, Adam Clayton Powell. They assassinated Dr. King, Malcolm X,
Right.
Medgar Evers. They criminalized Angela Davis and Eldrin Cleaver and so many other generals who were on the ground like us doing the work. And so this is why I'm saying join the National Parent Union, because we know that there's nothing new under the sun. And
Nothing.
so if the system went through all of this to discredit and dismantle and get rid of all of these organizations, they must have been doing something right. And what they were doing right was mobilizing the people. They were organizing, they were educating, and they were building plans. So join the National Parent Union so we can do less of these conversations about what is wrong and more about strategizing and building plans for Black and brown, or those who identify as Black, because that's the other thing, in this country. So that came from Black Labor, White Wealth. And I just wanted to drop that for those who are looking for ways of trying to argue why people need to join the movement.
And I gotta touch real quick, and Nehemiah, you might be able to speak to this too. I gotta touch on that word privilege, right? And so I just want to break it down in the simplest concepts. If you wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, not once had to think about the color of your skin, you're privileged. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna be real about that. Because and see, when we talk to the children, I think that puts an extra fire in our bones.
Oh yeah.
Because when we talk to our children, I'm talking about not just my biological children, but I call them all my children, our children, because I have a collective mothering mindset, right? And so when we talk to our children and they're talking about their day-to-day dealings, whether they're getting ignored or they're getting shunned or they don't feel free in some type of way to be able to be who they're created to be, that's bothering me. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And that means that the person that is issuing that type of negative behavior into their lives is privileged because they don't even see what's right in their face. They don't even understand the pain and the suffering and the questions and the misunderstanding of identity that our children have to go to sleep with at night. We get it, and that's an everyday thing that's impacting them. And
Oh yeah.
so, I just have to say that if you wake up and you can just make decisions and you go to sleep throughout your day and you don't ever have to worry about the color of your skin, you're privileged. And I don't care what nobody say, counter respond, because I'm telling the fact. So Nehemiah, I'm just going ahead before I get real heated up about my babies. 8 million Black children across this nation, and how many of them is still logged out, right?
Right.
Y'all talking about they didn't turn their Zoom camera on. They probably sitting in the corner of a closet. Be quiet. Did they show up? Okay. That's involvement, right? And so I get upset because there's just layers to this.
Right.
There's just layers to this. And when people are in power who have the ear of other people in power, and they're not bringing this into that environment, this hardcore truth, in fact, you don't need the power.
That's good.
You need to be deposed of your power. And let's bring the kids in the room to speak for themselves.
That's good. I'm happy that you said that. And, I think that's one of the reasons why I joined the National Parents Union. Like, you guys, we didn't plan to have this be a join the National Parents Union show. Right. But the reason why is because we need to have social power. So when the parent or the advocate or the cousin or whoever, right, is taking their family member to a school board meeting, or they're advocating for them at a school board meeting, they're not by themselves. They have support. Right. And that's the reason why we were able to move the needle in the first place. And that even goes, for, these Black elites. I mean, there are Black people that are privileged. Now, they don't have they don't have white privilege, but there is a such thing as Black privilege, not having to worry about the poverty situation that most African Americans or people of color are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so joining a union that is, first of all, free, right? Black folks here free, they like running, right? But believes that systemic racism is an actual thing.
Oh, it's not made up, you mean?
It's not made up, because we have leadership.
Is it documented and factual? Like, we got the data to prove it, Right. Oh, okay, because I thought, because I'm so sick of people talking about a Marxist agenda. Like, you're more Marxist than us. Right?
Yeah, here's the deal. We have to know who our enemies are, right? And we get so caught up in the white supremacist groups that it's like, oh, those are the only people that are coming for us. And that's not true. Anybody that is profiting off of Black pain is coming for us. And in particular, the enemy that's right beside us that we don't speak about and we don't see. And I've been speaking on this a lot because with knowledge is power, right? And so Black conservatism is an old form of Black enslavement, and that's historical. Look in the history books. I'm not just making this up. I'm giving this from text. So Black conservatism was designed to be a old form of Black enslavement. So we have to know our enemies. And this is
that book again, my brother. Show that book
again. This book right here, guys. This is Black Labor, White Wealth. And I'm trying to do it the best way I possibly can.
Yeah, you did it.
Because I don't want to lose my page. But here's the point that I was getting ready to close with. And it's from an old Black farmer who says this about Black conservatives and those that are working against the Black agenda. They run with the hounds while pretending friendship and brotherhood with the rabbits. And if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, any type of spiritual book, I've read them all. They all allude to that wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yes.
And so we have to be mindful of the people that are on social media, on these platforms that are talking a good game. And I said this to someone who was running for office. You're talking a good game, but where's your action? Where's your work? Where is your plan? What are you going to do to change workforce development? What are you going to do to change education? What are you going to do to change home ownership and homelessness within Black and brown communities? And that's parents. That's how you know when someone is about that life. Because if they can't answer you, if they can't give you a plan, if they can't market their information to you right in that moment and get you involved, then it's loose rap. That is your enemy. They're not working for an agenda that's going to empower our people.
That's good.
I have to say, if you are at church on Sunday and ain't helping the kids that night, you ain't bearing no fruit. Okay. So, do unto the least of these, my brethren, and then you have done unto me. So let me just throw that out there. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
Look, Christina, here, that's real, because here's the reality. And I say this, I've written some articles about how we can engage the Black church on my personal blog, because I know Atlanta, I try to be very, So on my personal blog, I write about how we can engage the Black church, but here's the reality, and we don't like to have these conversations in the Black community, especially. But Christianity plays a role in our oppression. And so when our white counterparts say, hey, I want to get somebody to sell out, how do they do that? They promise them all type of financial benefits. They empower them as activists or missionaries or civil rights leaders of the community, and they put them on TV and they give them awards. Because if you're watching what's happening in our society, we're seeing these things. They also make them feel like the recognition they're going to get is some type of acceptance into white society, and it's not, because it has failed time and time again. So they bamboozle us with the people who they feel like have wealth and who have influence, and then leave them behind, as well as leaving those of us behind who are on the ground and who are in poverty and who are disenfranchised.
And you know what? I'm a NAACP education chair out, one of them out here in California, right? A lot of people know this, some people don't. What you're saying is actual and factual. We can only talk about freedom up to a point. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
At the point where it becomes uncomfortable for the organization, then you're no longer of value to the organization. And so when I started talking about the fact that parents should be able to choose a high quality education for their children and shouldn't be trapped in cyclical, perpetual, generational, traditional failure, I started getting fought by the actual organization. Up until the point where I just removed my membership because they wanted to kick me out. Okay. Y'all can Google my name and you can see the history on that. We ain't gonna talk about all that today.
Well, you know, Christina, I said this earlier about NAACP, right? So we need to go in a different direction with organizations and building, you know, a network. So again, I'm going back to everyone watching this, reach out to people that need to be connected to organizations that are on the ground with plans, with resources, with an agenda that are doing the work, right? Also, just a shameless plug, Neo and I, you know, we've partnered together to do this Lifting Black Voices series, and we've heard from parents, we've uplifted Black women, educators, teachers, school leaders. We brought everyone to the table. And so on next Monday, 6:00 p.m. is going to be streamed on EDLANTA. Check me out also on edlanta.org, just while I'm talking, and also the Black Wall Street Times. And we're going to actually be hearing from students. And I'm real amped about that because it's going to be, thanks to Christina, an ongoing series where we get students from all across the nation that are talking about what is happening, not just in our schools, but also in our community. So again, 6:00 p.m., check us out. We're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk and putting these words to action. So support the youth. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's back them up, and let's make sure that they have a seat at the table in regards to some of the changes we know need to happen, like as soon as possible.
And Nehemiah, I said to Nehemiah, can I put my parent volunteer badge on and sit on the town hall? He was like, no, sis, you need to let the kids speak. I'm like, I'm going to have parent volunteer right here. But no, I mean, I appreciate what y'all doing. So Nehemiah, what, you know, can you share that you have upcoming?
I think Jason pretty much said that in Oklahoma, we're focusing on a ballot initiative called 805, which dramatically would reduce the sentences for nonviolent offenses in Oklahoma. And I don't know if anyone out there knows, Oklahoma is the prison capital, not only of America, but of the world. Wow. And women are leading that disproportionate population. We have the highest incarceration rate of women in the entire country. And we know women are mothers. And, you know, these children, they need to be moms and their dads. And so, you know, that's what we're working on. We're going to have a town hall. I believe it's going to be next Tuesday, as well as the National Parents Union invite to the town hall that will, I think it's going to be like an hour after the 805 town hall, the same day, to invite parents to the official virtual town hall that we're going to be doing for the National Parents Union.
Yeah, Neil, I have a picture on my wall of a couple of Black men who are actually imprisoned in Oklahoma. It's so funny that you brought that statistic out, because a lot of people don't realize that. And I'm like, that even goes into the school to prison pipeline, and how it's early. And we're so stuck in third grade, we don't realize that in pre-K, where there's only 2% of male educators of color in the field, and it's even a lower percentage of them in early learning, where early development is critically important to the growth and the success of Black students. So we need, another plug for Profound Gentlemen. That's an organization that works to recruit and retain male educators of color. And there's also Profound Ladies. So if you're an educator, if you are being treated unfairly in your school district, you have organizations like Profound Gentlemen, Profound Ladies, the Center for Black Educators Development, that are out here on the ground doing the work. So please look up those organizations, educators, teachers, even parents who want to know, how can I get more diversity in my schools? These are organizations that can help you to get that done. So I just wanted to throw that out there in regards to the school to prison pipeline.
And when you guys, when this finishes broadcasting live, if you could share those links, that would be helpful back into the comment field. And so I have to say that it's really something that I think that people overlook, and that is the incarcerated parents, right? Like, if you don't feel like you are gifted in one way, that's fine. But are you able to write a letter to the incarcerated parents, right? Are you able to show support? Because everything is not always what you read or see. Everything is not always what it seems, right? And if you don't know that person's struggle and their story and their pain personally, then don't just assume that you know about their life.
Right.
Each one, we cannot forget about our incarcerated and political prisoners. Don't get me started on that. We're going to have to do that a whole nother show. But we cannot forget about them as if they're just dead. They're not.
It's good that you say that. Like you mentioned, political prisoners. If someone is incarcerated for 17 years, right? A Black father who happened to be my first cousin. He was incarcerated for 17 years in Oklahoma, and his crime wasn't even violent. His crime was, and I believe it was a third strikes and you're out, was just stealing.
Oh yeah.
He had stolen a television, and he was in jail for 17 years. He missed his daughter growing up. His daughter, he ended up losing track of his daughter when he came out. And it was so devastating, because my family was like, well, where's this young lady at? And here I am, a millennial, thinking like, oh, well, we should be able to find her because of Facebook, right? If she's a millennial, then she's probably going to be on Facebook somewhere. And so we were able to track her down and, tie the family back together. But there are tons of families across the country that don't have that opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, it's all by design. One of the people in the watch party that's watching, I'm trying to read comments and have the conversation. But Ian brought up a good point that Black men are, disproportionately incarcerated, and that's a continued attack on the Black family. And we've seen this from, this is the interesting thing about America and slavery. Once, quote unquote, slaves in chains, right, and bondage were removed, they went to enslaving us in systems. The education system, the prison system, the financial institutions, because we have to go to white financial institutions for home loans and loans for our cars and loans for schools. So this is the point that I'm driving for those who are watching. How are we disenfranchising our own selves by still having to go to the same people that have enslaved us? Then we in order to get a certain amount of wealth, we sell out our own communities. So God forbid, and this is what happens with a lot of entertainers and athletes, the same people that we're seeing right now that are cozying up the Trumps and, the Trumps of the world, and their likes are, when they fall on hard times, where do they go? They got to go back to mom and them. But if mom and them have been pushed out of the house because of gentrification, if they don't have the home loans, if you haven't been able to pay their bills to keep them afloat, what are you falling back on? And so again, it is all designed to disenfranchise the Black family and the Black community.
And you know what? us helping people is not meant for our comfort. Okay, I have to say that, right? People seek levels of comfort that are unhealthy to community and collectivity, tribal mentality, right? Anything that you have, if you're not willing to share, then we're not gonna get very far collectively,
Oh yeah.
right? If my sisters and brothers come to me, or I ask them if they have a need, and if I'm not willing to sacrificially give that to them to see them rise, to see that they have what they need, then I don't really care about my neighbor,
But how are we
because that's
teaching
a
our children
sacrifice.
to do that? Are we relying on public schools to do that?
No, I don't. The public school is a system of indoctrination and colonization that is not going to teach a sense of community, a sense of civic engagement, a sense of freedom from
Oh yeah,
oppression. They are creating the working class,
of
period, point
course.
blank,
So
right?
this is why I'm an advocate for school choice, because one, I feel like this is a problem in America. We have too many people with the the white privilege mindset that I have to be in control of someone to tell them what to do. And I think that parents should be able to decide with their child what is the best setting for them to learn. We're forcing children to have to stay in one setting that does not work for
Mm-mm.
them. And so we're forcing them to choose pathways that may not be the best for them. So how do we change that? So I'm gonna shift gears to this: the Center for Black Educator Development, the CEO and founder, Sharif El Mekki. Shout out to El Mekki. He's one of
Shout
my
out to
advisors
Sharif
and a
Omeki.
brilliant brother of this time that is moving the needle on how we're educating Black children. Why do we keep going to public schools? And this is why the majority of Black and brown people are going to public schools, because they don't have any other options. And so we have to start building options. So we need to be supporting freedom schools, Black independent
Yes,
owned schools, and led by us with curriculum that is designed to teach our kids about how to dismantle the systems that are going to entrap them, not to teach them how to work for the system that is going to enslave them. We need to be teaching them how to dismantle that, but we cannot do that under a system that does not have the right people in place or a plan in place to change what's happening specifically to us.
here at the Laster Tribe Homeschool, we're free all day. So
Yeah, free minds. We gotta free the minds.
I know we spent like 47 minutes talking about this stuff, but you know how it is when we get together. So managing day to day, like are we even on the right track, or do
yes,
you shift
we
gears?
manage moment by moment, day by day here on Managing Day to Day. So we just take it one moment at a time, my brother. We're good.
You
But we
know,
about to
I
close,
can
and I'm
take
gonna
the
give you guys a
feedback and
final
bounce
thought.
right back. Managing day to day, know who your enemies are. Know the people that are working against you. We are at a war. So again, if you are concerned about the future generations of Black people in America, then start reaching out to people that you know and sharing the organizations that are doing the work, so that what we're doing on a day-to-day process gets better. We will not see the change in America that we need to see if we don't invest in it, if we don't plan for it, if we don't organize, if we don't swallow that pride, right? That most people, in the church, most people in the religious, sector, they will say that we need to treat people to be attitudes, our character. Well, this is what Dr. King said in 1947, that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence for Black people in America is not enough if we don't have character. And with that character, coupled with intelligence, it should inspire us to want to build the beloved community. What is the beloved community? That community where we're homeowners, where we are business owners, where we have the financial and economic power of our communities to educate our children, protect our children, feed our children so we don't have food deserts, clothe our children so that we're continuing to put the Black dollar back into the Black communities, much like Greenwood, much like Auburn Avenue, much like Harlem. It's not like it's impossible and we have not seen it before. We've seen it. The big question is, are we willing to collectively come together and do it?
Yeah, in such a way that it cannot be dismantled, because we are collectively going to have each other's backs too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can't nobody dismantle that kind of bond, right? They can try, but they cannot. And so, we need to be looking at some of the failures and things from the past and not bringing them into our future.
That's good.
I don't mind the youth being at the forefront of it. Why? Because they're creative, they're innovative. They know what they need and they know how to do it and think in different ways. We don't have to stay stuck in a stagnant mindset that it's only this way. It could be this and that, right? As a matter of fact, it requires all of that.
It needs to be that in Tulsa, we have a lot of young activists, and I'm sure there are young activists in Georgia as well. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about, people that are in their 20s. And, they have more energy. They do have more energy. But that energy has to be led with, it has to be able to have a open door. There should be an open door policy to wisdom. And if the door is shut because wisdom has an ego problem, then we're just a bunch of bees being sprayed and we're running all over the place. And so, there has to be some sort of cooperation in order for us to rebuild a Greenwood or an Albany.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this and then we gonna close because I got a noon meeting. So I'm gonna say this. Listen, if we are so busy talking about around the youth but never involving them, we ain't helping them. Okay. That's talking about them. That's talking around them. But that direct conversation is not happening to them. So how are you benefiting them? Because they're sitting back watching and thinking, y'all got it wrong. Let me at it. Right. And I'm gonna let them at it. Why? Because they master by practicing. How are they going to be molded and shaped in such a way that they're going to impact the future generation that they're going to be a part of if you don't let them operate and practice now?
That's good.
Stop censoring and silencing these youth, right? They're not going to disrespect you. They're not going to take your role over. Whatever false narratives and images you have in your mind, you need to daily and intentionally and debunk that. It is not disrespectful to allow them to engage. It is not disrespectful or rude to allow them to have a seat at the table that they can say, this is how we want our futures mapped out, right? No. And so I want to leave you guys with the final thoughts to share. We can have this conversation all day. We're going to have to pick it back up another Thursday.
Totally cool. Neil, you want to go ahead, brother? You let me go first last time.
Sure. Final words for today. It's still early in the day. Make sure you take care of yourself. We're almost a Friday. Let me tell you, I'm ready for this weekend. And I'm sure others are as well. Don't overwork yourself. And, I believe Black excellence is still in our DNA. We are a wounded people that need restoration. But I think that we're getting there. We just have to all get in formation. And some folks, we're gonna have to leave behind. But I think that the majority.
Harriet Tubman did it, my brother.
Yeah, we're gonna have to leave some folks behind. But I think that's definitely it.
I would close by saying reading is fundamental. I shared Black Labor, White Wealth is one of the books that I'm reading right now. It's a part of my self-care too, because I can't be prepared for a battle, right, if I haven't studied to show myself approved. And so research, studying, rest, spending time with your family and your loved ones, pretty much as Neo has said, that's important because I can't go up to a battle on tomorrow and I'm exhausted because I've been fighting all week. So self-care is definitely important. And I also want to just remind everyone again, our Lifting Black Voices series continues next Monday at 6:00 p.m. I have a video that I'm going to be posting on the EDLANTA Facebook page momentarily about the I Vote challenge for middle and high school students. And again, about engaging our students in this process because we need them in this battle because they're going to be in it for the long run.
Yes.
So let's support our youth. Let's get their voices to the table and let's continue taking care of each other.
Yes. And to that end, I am fully vested in the children. And so thank you guys so much for coming and sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge, and then continuing in the communities that you serve, sharing. And so it's not about egos. I want to close with this. Check your ego at the door and, assess your servanthood. Okay, because what you do unto the least of these, my brethren, you have done unto me. right? And so I'm gonna need you to check on your neighbor. That requires sacrificial love and giving. I'm gonna need you to be that person that says, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do XYZ, whether that's writing an incarcerated parent, or checking on the kids that they have, right? They don't want to lose touch with their children, like Nehemiah said. You know, they're forgotten. Don't forget about them. They're still alive, right? And so, and then we have an upcoming town hall, definitely November 5th. I shared that information. Membership to National Parents Union is free. All it requires is you to type a few questions, answer a few questions. I shared the application. We are here with bringing forth the authentic voice of parents and of our community, such as what you see here today. And so we hope that you will be able to join in, bear arms in the cohort and in the battle. Don't be collateral damage by fence sitting. Just want to remind you. And so today you have been watching my brother Jason Allen, Nehemiah Frank. Welcome. We'll see you again on Tuesday for Policy and Legislation Breakdown. You've been watching Managing Day to Day with me, Christina Laster, and National Parents Union. I hope you all stay well. I hope you all thrive. Goodbye to America's beautiful children. We love you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings.
Bye.
Peace and blessings.